Ever wondered how a small group of rebels could stand up to the mightiest empire the world has ever known? Today, we're diving deep beneath the hills of Judea to uncover the secrets of ancient guerrilla warfare. This isn't just a story of battles and heroes. It's a tale of incredible ingenuity, unwavering spirit, and a fight for survival waged from the darkness below. Let's set the scene. It's the 1st and 2nd centuries CE. The Roman Empire is at its peak, a military and engineering superpower. Their legions are disciplined, their tactics are proven, and their control seems absolute. In the province of Judea, however, tensions are boiling over. Heavy taxes, religious clashes, and a fierce desire for independence sparked a series of major rebellions. The most famous of these are the Great Revolt, which ended with the destruction of the Jerusalem Temple in 70 CE, and the Bar Kokhba Revolt about 60 years later. Now, facing the Roman legions, head-on was a suicide mission. The Judean rebels knew this. They couldn't match Rome's numbers, training, or heavy equipment in open-field battles. So, they changed the rules of the game. Instead of fighting on the Romans' terms, they made the very land their greatest weapon. And how did they do it? By going underground. Archaeologists have unearthed an astonishing network of man-made caves and tunnels, especially in the Judean. We're talking about hundreds of complexes, a subterranean world hidden right under the Romans' feet. These weren't just simple holes in the ground. They were sophisticated, multi-level systems designed for a very specific purpose: to fight a guerrilla war. Imagine this. A Roman patrol is marching through a seemingly peaceful village. Suddenly, rebels emerge from a hidden opening, strike quickly, and vanish without a trace back into the earth. The Romans, confused and frustrated, can't pursue them. Their heavy armor and large formations are useless in the tight, winding passages below. These tunnel systems were marvels of ancient engineering. They often connected existing natural caves, cisterns, and even olive presses. The rebels would carve narrow, twisting corridors, sometimes so low you'd have to crawl. These weren't designed for comfort. They were designed for defense. Sharp turns made it impossible for an enemy to shoot arrows or throw spears down the passage. Vertical shafts acted as traps or ambush points, allowing rebels to attack from above. Inside these subterranean bases, they had everything they needed to survive and fight. There were living quarters, large halls for assembly, and, most importantly, huge storage rooms for food, water, and weapons. Olive presses and grain mills found underground show they could sustain themselves for long periods, completely independent of the world above. They even carved small niches for oil lamps to light the way in the pitch-black darkness. It was a self-contained world of resistance. The leader of the second major revolt, Simon Bar Kokhba, was a master of this strategy. Historical accounts, though written by his enemies, describe him as a brilliant and fearsome commander. He organized his fighters into small, agile units that knew the landscape like the back of their hand. They would launch hit-and-run attacks, ambush Roman supply lines, and disrupt communications. Their goal wasn't to win a decisive battle, but to bleed the Roman army dry, to wear them down mentally and physically. This type of warfare was psychological as much as it was physical. For the Roman soldiers, Judea became a nightmare posting. The enemy was invisible. The attacks were unpredictable, and every step could be a trap. The constant threat from an unseen foe was terrifying. It created an atmosphere of fear and paranoia, which is exactly what the rebels wanted. They were turning the Romans' greatest strength, their disciplined, organized army, into a weakness. The Romans eventually learned, but at a great cost. Emperor Hadrian himself had to come to Judea to oversee the campaign against Bar Kokhba. The Roman general, Julius Severus, was brought all the way from Britain because he had experience fighting guerrilla-style tactics. His strategy wasn't to fight the rebels on their terms. Instead, he adopted a slow, grinding approach. He would surround individual rebel strongholds, cut off their supplies, and methodically destroy them one by one. He basically laid siege to the entire countryside, village by village, cave by cave. The Romans even started building their own counter-tunnels to try and intercept the rebels underground. It was a brutal, slow, and bloody war of attrition. In the end, Rome's overwhelming resources won out. The Bar Kokhba revolt was crushed, with immense loss of life on both sides. The historian Cassius Dio tells us that the Romans destroyed almost 1,000 villages, and that the entire province of Judea was left devastated. But the story of these underground hideouts remains a powerful testament to the human will to resist. The rebels may have lost the war, but their innovative tactics left a lasting mark on military history. They demonstrated that even against a seemingly invincible superpower, a determined and clever resistance can inflict incredible damage. They showed that when you can't win by force, you win by strategy, by turning caves into fortresses and hills into traps. They waged a war of shadows that baffled the Roman Empire for years. Today, you can actually visit some of these incredible sites in Israel. Crawling through the same narrow tunnels that rebels used 2,000 years ago is an unforgettable experience. It gives you a real, tangible sense of the history, the desperation, and the sheer ingenuity of this underground struggle. It's one thing to read about it, but it's another to be in that dark, confined space. And imagine what it must have been like. The Judean guerrilla war is a classic example of asymmetric warfare, where a weaker force uses unconventional tactics to challenge a stronger one. It's a strategy we've seen repeated throughout history, from the American Revolution to the Vietnam War. It proves that the battlefield isn't always an open field. Sometimes, it's a state of mind, a deep knowledge of the land, and the courage to fight from the shadows. So, the next time you think about the Roman Empire, remember, it wasn't all grand victories and triumphant parades. In the hills of Judea, they faced an enemy who refused to play by the rules, an enemy who disappeared into the earth, and who proved that even the greatest empires can be made to bleed. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey into the hidden world of Judean rebels. If you found this as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten history. Let me know in the comments what other historical conflicts you'd like to explore. See you in the next video.